Hello, and welcome to SolarWinds SmartStart Journey with WSP Global. My name is Vanessa Pena, and I am with the SmartStart team. I've been with the SolarWinds team for 10 years now, and I am excited to have Christian Brett with WSP Global with us today. Christian's a current SmartStart onboarding customer, and during this time, Christian and I will be discussing his experience with SmartStart onboarding. Christian, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been using SolarWinds.
Hi, Vanessa. So I'm a Global Network Solutions Architect for WSP. I've been working for WSP for about 4 years now, working with SolarWinds probably on and off for the last 12 years. So lots of experience from a network side of things, from NPM, NCM, NTA, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Great. Well, I'm glad you were able to join us today, and we'll go ahead and get started talking about the Onboarding SmartStart program that we have. So, Christian, tell us a little bit about your SolarWinds product portfolio and which solutions do you currently own?
WSP currently have NPM, NCA, NTA, SAM, and we've recently purchased SRM as well. So we've got quite a broad selection of the product set. So bear with me while I sort my mic out. So we've got a broad set of the kind of product set. Is that any better?
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, we recently redeployed our SolarWinds environment into a completely fresh install, and fortunately or unfortunately, COVID hitting forced us to begin to use that environment to build some really lovely exec dashboards for our global exec, just being able to see what's going on around the world for WSP as an organization. We've got close to 55,000 employees, so having all of them working from home, trying to access the systems that they would normally do in an office, the NPM product set was critical for that, and that kind of spurred them on to look to reinvest in SolarWinds as a product suite. For monitoring internally. Our enterprise compute team saw what we were doing with the network side of things, and they were like, "Oh, great, that's excellent. Can we get all the storage in it? Can we see what our SANs are doing around the world? Can we see how much storage we've got? Can we do reporting on it and all that kind of stuff?" So yeah, we expanded the portfolio to include SAM and SRM sort of back in August, actually.
Yeah, I think we started working together back in August, and so out of those solutions, which one did you leverage outside of the SAM and the SRM product? And
so
then how did you determine which product to start with for the onboarding first?
Okay, so because we were reinvesting in the platform and redeploying it for our operational purposes within WSP, we looked to buy SmartStart initially for NPM, NTA, NCM, and SAM, and chose to SmartStart NPM first because that's kind of the basis for all of the rest of the products to sit upon. All the reporting and alerting and everything else kind of comes out of NPM. So it was critical for us to start with that. We then began to run the other products, SmartStarts, side by side. And it became fairly apparent as the enterprise compute guys were looking to bring the storage into SRM that no one knew anything about SRM. It's a completely new product for WSP and the teams within it. So we then, while we were running NPM, NTA, NCM, and SAM SmartStart, we also bought SRM as well, the SmartStart for that, so that the enterprise compute guys could get the best and leverage the best out of that module.
That's great. So it sounds like the onboarding program is for sure assisting you guys from the very beginning, and now kind of towards the middle of already being with onboarding for a little while. So how is this onboarding assisting you along the journey? I know you mentioned, you guys started back in August due to COVID and it's helped, but what other areas would you want to touch on regarding how it's assisted you along the journey?
I think the key thing is, obviously, we are partway through it. But the key thing for us was it allows us to validate that we're following the best practices, that we've got the best practice config for the alerting thresholds, for the monitoring, for not only the network stuff, but also the servers and the applications, etc. We're actually working with one of SolarWinds partners and having that technical resource that understands both the technical elements of the stuff we're monitoring and also the technical elements of how the best practices should be set up for the SolarWinds platform. Having that resource allows us to work really closely with the partner to get the best setup for WSP. It kind of also means that whilst the global network team have used SolarWinds for a very long time and we're fairly familiar with it, it's meant that we're able to leverage the resource that we've got with the SmartStart to get some SQL queries set up, or some custom pollers, or some custom SQL queries set up for alerting and reporting based on the custom properties that we've set within the platforms.
Great. So one question that I have, because you mentioned that you guys have purchased several SmartStarts with us, how does it work with your team as far as like the hour sessions? Like, how does that look for you since you have multiple teams with different products?
Yeah, so we've got the global network team doing NTA, NPM, and NCM. We run in 3 sessions a week, and then we've got the enterprise compute team and the GNS team, the global network team, doing SAM, and then the enterprise compute team also doing SRM as well. And we're utilizing 2 different consultants with the partner that we're using to run the 2 different sets of SmartStart sessions effectively, the 2 streams, as it were. We've got a network stream and then an enterprise compute stream. So it's useful because we're doing an hour a week on each product, but we're able to, because we're running them concurrently, we're able to almost blend those sessions together to take it from nothing to one product completely complete. And there is a lot of interplay between the products as well. So NCM and NTA rely on NPM fairly heavily, so there's interplay between those products, and having the same consultant doing all the SmartStart sessions really helps.
Great. And so out of those products, or what aspect of SmartStart is providing you the most value?
I think the biggest value that we've got out of SmartStart is that it's validated that we have set the environment up in the correct way. So it's not a small environment. We've got a separate SQL server. We've got a primary polling engine. We've got 3 additional polling engines scattered around the globe. We've got additional web front ends. So it's scaled correctly. And in actual fact, we've scaled to the point where, or we've begun to bring onboard stuff to the point within our environment that we're going to have to scale it again next year with additional polling engines. So having that technical resource there to guide us through that and help us highlight areas that we hadn't thought about that are going to affect how that deployment looks in the future, that's been really critical. And also, I guess having a defined schedule for each of the SmartStart topics has meant we can almost pick and choose, and there's flexibility in being able to revisit those topics. So we might have done, config management one week, and come into it the following week and gone, oh yeah, we had a look at that. Can we go back to that particular topic because I've got some questions about it, and look at it further.
Great. So it looks like we do have a question. The question is, are there any lessons, or are there any lessons learned that you could share with us, and who are you trying to do this on your own? Sorry. So are there any
Okay.
lessons learned you could share with us?
Lessons learned. I think the biggest or a couple of pieces of advice for people trying to do this on their own without the Smart Start is you need to make sure you're following the best practices for setting up your environment. That's critical. We had issues with performance and ran the diagnostics, sent it off to the support engineers, got a great response from support, and it turns out that actually we had issues with our SQL box and SQL environment because it wasn't set up following best practice. So that's critical. You need to understand your estate that you wish to monitor, the routers, the switches, etc., and their geographical locations, because that will impact how you design your SolarWinds deployment. You need to decide how you're going to group and correlate those devices based on site, location, type, vendor, etc. And you want to ensure that the thing that changes the least is the parent for that. So for WSP, it's a site code and a branch office. That's our parent, and then everything else sits under those. You want to decide how you want to alert and how you want to report, what you want to alert on and what you want to report on, how and when, whether it's via SMS, email, pager, and is it 24/7? Is it business hours? Is it a business hours in a particular time zone, or is it business hours just from a single time zone, from a primary time zone? And to be able to do that, you've got to use custom properties. So yeah, that's critical. The use of custom properties is probably critical, as David and the guys before were saying.
For sure. Well, that's really great advice. Is there anything else that you can think of that you would want our customers who may be looking to purchase SmartStart onboarding in the near future?
It's a really worthwhile investment. It's been really good for WSP. Our enterprise compute guys have got masses out of the SRM one. They're able to work with support and with the SmartStart guys. When we've got problems onboarding a particular product or a particular vendor, the assistance you get out of the SmartStart is great. I guess for WSP, we needed to ensure that we got the threshold set correctly, that we got everything set right, the correct polling and alerting bias and setup done, because we're going to go into production, and this is going to become, I guess, the production and monitoring environment. So, yeah.
Well, Christian, I am so glad that we were able to talk about your experience with SmartStart onboarding, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. You have a nice day, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.